When being too kind is a mistake. What seniors should never tolerate no matter how gentle their heart. Have you ever been praised for being too generous, too forgiving, too willing to step back for the sake of others? If you're between the ages of 50 and 80, I want to speak directly to the part of you that has always carried more than your share of patience, of responsibility, of pain because you thought it was the right thing to do. You were taught that goodness means sacrifice. That peace means silence. That wisdom means letting others win. And for the most part, that's true. Many beautiful things in life are built on kindness and humility, on choosing peace over pride, and love over control. But today, I want to offer you something most people are too afraid to say out loud. There are some things you should never put up with, no matter how loving, forgiving, or spiritual you are. There are 5 specific forms of injustice that many older adults suffer quietly, thinking that endurance is virtue, that tolerance is strength, that being the bigger person is always the right choice. But it's not. Not when that quiet acceptance comes at the cost of your dignity. Not when it turns your kindness into a weapon others use against you. Not when your silence becomes permission for someone else's wrongdoing. In this video, we'll gently walk through 5 specific situations where being too nice is not noble, it's dangerous. These are the kinds of sacrifices that do not build character. They erode self-respect. They invite exploitation. They teach others to treat you poorly. And I want you to know, it's never too late to draw new boundaries, to stand in your worth, to protect the beautiful, wise, and experienced soul that you've spent decades becoming. So please stay with me until the very end of this video. Let's reflect together, not with anger, but with clarity. Not with blame, but with truth. Because what you'll hear today might just change the way you protect your peace for the rest of your life. And if this message speaks to your heart, if you've ever felt used, dismissed, taken for granted, or quietly disrespected, then I gently invite you to subscribe to this channel so you don't miss future reflections like this one. Leave a comment if something resonates, and share this video with someone you care about who needs to hear that being kind does not mean being small. Take a deep breath. Settle in. Let's begin this journey of reclaiming your quiet strength. 1. Never take the fall for someone else's mistake. There's a kind of silence that doesn't bring peace, it brings shame. It's the silence of someone who carries a burden that isn't theirs, who lowers their head and takes the blame for something they didn't do, because they think it will protect the people around them. Or maybe they feel powerless. Maybe they've been told that this is what love looks like. But let me be very clear, taking the fall for someone else's wrongdoing is not an act of strength, it's an act of self-betrayal. I've seen it time and again in older adults, especially those who've spent a lifetime putting others first. You cover up a child's mistake, thinking it will protect their future. You take the blame for a workplace issue to avoid conflict. You nod quietly as someone paints a false picture of what really happened because you don't want to cause a scene, or because you believe your silence is a form of loyalty. But silence, in the face of injustice, is not loyalty. It's permission. Let me tell you a story. Years ago, I worked with a woman named Judith. She was 74 at the time, a soft-spoken mother of 3, grandmother of 7. On the surface, Judith lived a peaceful life. But when she sat across from me, her hands trembled not from age, but from decades of quiet wounds. Her younger son had made some serious financial mistakes, illegal ones. He had forged her signature on several documents to secure loans. When the truth came out, he begged her to take the blame. "They'll go easy on you," he said. "You're old. They won't press charges." Judith, with all her motherly love and quiet devotion, agreed. She stood in front of a judge and confessed to a crime she didn't commit. She thought she was saving her son. But what she didn't realize was that she was also giving him permission to avoid responsibility, to hurt again, to never grow up. Worse yet, she was destroying her own integrity. That moment changed her. Not just legally, but spiritually. She stopped trusting herself. She started questioning whether her life of sacrifice had truly been understood or simply used. "I thought I was being noble," she told me through tears. "But I was just afraid. Afraid of losing him. Afraid of what people would think. Afraid of causing pain." And yet the pain came anyway. What Judith didn't see in that moment, what many older adults don't see, is that when you shield someone from the consequences of their own actions, you're not protecting them. You're crippling them. You are taking away their chance to grow, their chance to change. And you are placing yourself in a prison made of silence, shame, and injustice. Let's be honest, there are people in this world who will take advantage of your kindness, especially when you're older. They believe your quietness is weakness, that your desire for peace means you won't fight back, that your years of patience have made you someone easy to manipulate. But you are not weak. You are not naive. And your love should not be the reason you suffer for someone else's wrongdoing. There is a difference between compassion and codependency, between forgiveness and foolishness, between humility and self-erasure. Yes, it is good to be patient. Yes, it is good to be kind. But when someone asks you to sacrifice your dignity to protect their lie, that's not kindness anymore. That's exploitation. So what should you do? You draw a line. Even if your voice shakes, even if your hands tremble, you look that person in the eye and say, I love you, but I will not carry your consequences. They are yours to bear. And I trust you to grow strong enough to face them. And if they walk away, so be it. Sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is stand in your truth, even if it costs you the relationship. Because your self-respect is worth more than someone else's approval. You didn't spend a lifetime building wisdom just to be used as a shield. You didn't survive heartache and hardship just to end your years in silence and guilt. You are not a scapegoat. You are a soul with value, with dignity, with boundaries. Remember this. There is no peace in taking blame that isn't yours. There is only bitterness, confusion, and a growing belief that your truth doesn't matter. But it does. It always has. If someone tries to make you feel guilty for not taking the hit for them, that's manipulation, not love. Love doesn't ask you to lie. It asks you to live honestly, even when it's uncomfortable. So from this day forward, promise yourself, I will never again wear someone else's guilt as if it were my own. And if you've done this in the past, I want you to forgive yourself. You did what you thought was best at the time. But now, you know better. Now, you know that your truth is not a weapon. It's a shield. Hold it high. 2. Never sacrifice your honor. It's worth more than anyone's comfort. There's something sacred that lives within every person. It isn't wealth. It isn't beauty. It's not strength or intelligence. It's honor. Honor is the invisible thread that holds together our dignity, our legacy, and our sense of self-worth. And yet, too many older adults, especially those with tender hearts, have been convinced that sacrificing their honor for the sake of peace, family, or reputation is somehow a noble thing. Let me tell you now, losing your honor for the comfort of others is never noble. It is deeply damaging and it is never necessary. Honor is not pride. It is not arrogance. It is not about being right all the time. It is about knowing who you are and refusing to let others define you through lies, slander, or manipulation. Many people, especially in their later years, are told to just let it go when someone insults them, when they are publicly disrespected, or when their character is falsely attacked. And yes, sometimes walking away is the wise thing to do. But sometimes, silence is not wisdom, it's surrender. Let me share with you the story of a man named Paul. Paul was a retired teacher in his 70s, loved by his students, respected by his community. After retiring, he volunteered at a local music center, helping young musicians prepare for scholarships and auditions. Among them was a talented boy named Aaron, whose parents were wealthy and well-connected in town. One day, after a difficult rehearsal, Paul gently corrected Aaron's posture and tone. The boy, embarrassed and angry, ran home and twisted the story. He told his parents that Paul was harsh, unfair, even inappropriate. The next morning, rumors spread like wildfire. Paul was suspended from volunteering. No one asked for his side of the story. Out of shame and fear, he said nothing. He thought staying quiet would let things blow over. But they didn't. Instead, his silence was taken as an admission of guilt. His reputation crumbled. Invitations stopped coming. Friends turned cold. Weeks later, Aaron's mother came to Paul, tearful and apologetic. Her son had confessed he'd exaggerated everything. But by then, the damage had been done. I thought keeping quiet was the noble thing to do, Paul told me. But now I see I gave away my dignity to protect someone else's lie. Let that settle in for a moment. He didn't just lose his reputation. He lost his confidence, his place in the community, his sense of safety in the world he had served for decades. And for what? Honor, once questioned, must be protected not with violence, not with shouting, but with calm, firm truth. When someone spreads lies about you, speak up. When someone twists your intentions, correct them. When someone tries to humiliate you publicly, stand tall. Not to punish them. Not to win. But to protect what you've spent a lifetime building your character. You see, your honor is not just yours. It belongs to your children. Your grandchildren. To the people who look up to you. To the story your life is still telling. When you let someone stain it and say nothing, you don't just lose the respect of others. You begin to lose the most dangerous thing of all, your belief in yourself. And the longer you stay silent, the harder it becomes to reclaim that belief. There's a famous saying in Eastern philosophy: a man may lose gold and earn it back, but a man who loses his name may never recover it. It is not shameful to defend your name. It is not prideful to correct a lie. It is not unspiritual to hold your head high in the face of public scorn. In fact, it is one of the most spiritual things you can do because it is rooted in truth. Your truth is your anchor. Your integrity is your home. No relationship, no job, no reputation is worth keeping if it requires you to bury that truth. Too many older adults are taught that peace means accepting mistreatment. That maturity means swallowing your hurt and pretending it doesn't matter. But it does matter. Because the moment you stop protecting your name, the world stops respecting it. This doesn't mean fighting every battle. It doesn't mean responding to every critic. But it does mean that when something threatens your integrity, your core, you respond with calm conviction. You say, "That's not who I am. That's not what happened. And I won't allow anyone to rewrite the truth of my life. You have earned your place in this world. You have walked through storms and stood back up. You have taught, nurtured, given, forgiven, sacrificed. You have nothing to prove but everything to protect. Protect your honor not for ego's sake, but because it is the quiet foundation of every beautiful thing you've built. And remember, people may forget your job title. They may forget your possessions, but they will never forget how you carried your name. Carry it with grace. Carry it with courage. Carry it with the quiet power of someone who knows exactly who they are. 3. Never let anyone exploit your kindness. There's a certain kind of pain that's hard to put into words. It's the pain of realizing someone wasn't kind to you because they loved you. They were kind because they needed something. And when they got it, they left. It's a quiet kind of betrayal. Not loud like anger. Not sharp like insults. But slow, creeping, and deeply disheartening. If you've lived more than 5 decades, chances are you felt it. You offered a hand and someone grabbed your arm. You gave money and someone kept taking. You offered your time and they treated it like it was disposable. And maybe, for a while, you didn't say anything. Because you wanted to believe the best. Because you didn't want to seem selfish. Because you were raised to be generous, compassionate, and patient. But today, I want to say something that may surprise you. Letting yourself be used is not kindness. It is quiet self-abandonment. You are not being noble when you let others drain your time, energy, money, or emotional strength without care. You are not being spiritual when you allow someone to pull from your well again and again, never asking how much water you have left. Kindness without boundaries becomes self-destruction. Let me tell you about Margaret. She was 78, a retired nurse, and the kind of person everyone in her neighborhood trusted. When a friend needed a ride, she gave it. When a niece needed rent money, she paid it. When a former coworker called in tears, Margaret was there listening for hours, offering her heart, her home, and sometimes a savings. But slowly, her smile faded. Not because she stopped loving people, but because she started realizing how little they loved her back. Calls came only when someone needed something. Visits happened only when there was a favor to ask. And when Margaret finally said no to a third request for money in 1 month, the silence was deafening. No one checked in. No one thanked her. No one stayed when she stopped giving. She came to me one day and said something I'll never forget. I thought I was helping. But now I wonder, maybe I was just being harvested. Harvested. That word stayed with me. Because that's exactly what exploitation feels like. Someone sees what's good in you, your empathy, your generosity, your desire to make life better, and they harvest it, without watering the roots. They don't nurture you. They don't check on your well-being. They just take. And here's the truth. The people who truly love you will never make you feel guilty for setting a boundary. They will never punish you with silence for saying no. They will never disappear when you stop giving. They will never use your kindness as a staircase for their own comfort. So what can you do? You protect your kindness by making it selective. You protect your love by making it intentional. You protect your soul by making your giving mutual. This doesn't mean you become cold. It doesn't mean you stop caring. It simply means you start asking one very important question before giving. Is this helping? Or is this allowing? Helping empowers. Allowing enables. Helping lifts. Allowing drains. If someone only calls when they want something, pay attention. If someone gets angry when you say no, pay attention. If someone leaves when you stop giving, pay attention. That's not love. That's use. And you were never meant to be used. You were meant to be valued. Sometimes, the bravest thing you can say is not this time. Sometimes, the kindest thing you can do for yourself is walk away from the people who only show up when they're hungry. Your energy is sacred. Your wisdom is earned. Your love is powerful. It should never be treated like an endless resource for people who never ask, "How are you holding up?" Or "Do you need anything in return?" And if you're worried that setting boundaries will leave you lonely, let me reassure you. The people who leave when you say no were never truly with you. The ones who stay, the ones who adjust, who listen, who care, those are your people. And they are worth your time. So from now on, I want you to remember this simple truth. You are allowed to protect yourself even from the people you once protected. Say no when you need to. Rest when you must. Give only when it nourishes you, too. Your kindness is not weakness. It is a gift. But like all precious gifts, it must be offered wisely, not handed out without care. 4. Never stay silent when you're being disrespected. There's a moment often so quiet, so fleeting that it almost passes unnoticed. A conversation turns slightly sharp. A glance becomes cold. A joke is made at your expense. And just like that, the dignity you've carried for a lifetime feels small. Have you ever been there? You sit at the table, and someone cuts you off mid-sentence as if your voice no longer matters. You offer an idea, and it's met with silence until someone younger repeats it and receives applause. You walk into a room, and you're greeted not with warmth, but with dismissal, as if your years of experience have suddenly become invisible. And maybe because you're kind, because you've lived long enough to know that not every fight is worth having you say nothing. You smile politely. You swallow the insult. You tell yourself, it's not a big deal. But let me be very clear. Being disrespected is always a big deal. And staying silent in the face of disrespect doesn't make you noble. It makes you smaller than you were ever meant to be. Let me share with you the story of a man named Harold. He was a retired professor of philosophy. For 40 years, he taught generations of students to think, to question, to grow into compassionate, critical thinkers. After retirement, he moved closer to his daughter and her family. He offered to help with the grandchildren, shared his wisdom, and quietly took on the role of the family's quiet guide. But over time, he noticed something changing. He would start to speak, and his son-in-law would talk over him. He would offer advice, and it would be brushed aside as old-fashioned. His granddaughter once said, with an eye roll, "You're from another time, Grandpa." Things don't work like that anymore. Each time, Harold smiled. He didn't want to cause a scene. He didn't want to seem bitter. But each time, something inside him shrank. One day, at a family gathering, his daughter made a passing joke harmless on the surface, implying that Harold's opinions didn't matter anymore. Laughter filled the room. Harold's heart did not. That evening, he sat alone in the guest room, staring out the window, and wondered, is this what my voice is now? A punchline? It's a question too many older adults ask. Not out loud, but silently, in the quiet places of the heart. You see, when you've spent a lifetime building character, earning wisdom, surviving hardship, and showing up for others, being dismissed feels like being erased. And here's the hard truth. If you don't speak up when someone disrespects you, they will begin to believe they're allowed to. Respect doesn't come with age, it must be claimed with courage. Not through shouting, not through guilt, but through a steady, calm voice that says, "Please don't speak to me that way. What you just said isn't kind, and I won't accept it. My thoughts still matter. I still matter." Let's be clear. You are not being dramatic for asking to be treated with dignity. You are not being sensitive for wanting your words heard. You are not being difficult for saying, "I deserve better." In fact, you're teaching others what it means to honor the generations before them. You are the bridge between history and future, between tradition and progress. You are a living library of experience. And no one, no matter how young, how educated, or how loud, has the right to treat you as if you're no longer relevant. Your presence is a privilege. Your words are valuable. Your story is still unfolding and it deserves respect. If someone in your life consistently belittles you, laughs at your age, disregards your opinions, or speaks to you with condescension, I want you to remember something simple and powerful. The way people treat you says everything about them and nothing about your worth. But the way you respond? That's where your power lives. It lives in the moments you set boundaries with grace. In the courage to say, no, that's not acceptable. In the quiet refusal to be made small by someone else's ignorance. So what should you do? You don't need to argue. You don't need to attack. You simply need to stand. Stand in your wisdom. Stand in your worth. Stand in your truth. And if someone doesn't respect that, then perhaps they're not meant to walk beside you. You deserve to be surrounded by people who see you, who listen when you speak, who understand that your life has value not because of what you can give them, but because of who you are. Never let someone convince you that aging makes you invisible. It doesn't. It makes you luminous with experience, with compassion, with perspective. Speak with calm. Act with clarity. Walk with dignity. And when others try to dim your light, you don't need to fight. You just need to shine brighter. 5. Never let betrayal steal your peace or your self-respect. There are few wounds as deep as the wound of betrayal. It doesn't cut like an accident. It doesn't bruise like a stranger's words. It strikes in silence because it comes from someone you let close. And as we grow older, we sometimes carry these silent scars without ever showing them. A friend we trusted, who turned away. A family member who chose convenience over loyalty. A spouse, a partner, a child, someone we would have sacrificed everything for, who treated our love like it was disposable. Maybe you've been there. Maybe you trusted someone with your deepest truths, and they used them against you. Maybe you gave someone your unwavering support, and when you needed help, they were gone. Maybe the betrayal came from the very person you believed would stand by you until the end. It's heartbreaking. But today, I want to offer you something far more powerful than revenge, bitterness, or regret. I want to offer you clarity. Because understanding betrayal helps you do something extraordinary. Let go not out of weakness, but out of wisdom. Let me tell you about Ellen. She was 69 when I met her. A retired librarian. She had been married for over 40 years. By all appearances, her life was quiet, content, and stable. But inside, she was slowly unraveling. At 67, she discovered that her husband had been emotionally involved with someone else for more than 5 years. No shouting. No confession. Just slow neglect. Fewer conversations. Secretive phone calls. Long walks alone. When she finally confronted him, he said, "I didn't want to hurt you. But I needed something more." Those words stayed with her. I needed something more. For months, Ellen blamed herself. Maybe I wasn't interesting enough. Maybe I wasn't affectionate enough. Maybe I should have done more, been more, said more. But the truth is, betrayal is never your fault. It is always a reflection of the betrayer's fear, confusion, or selfishness, not a reflection of your worth. And perhaps even more painful than the betrayal itself, is what it whispers into your mind afterward. You were never enough. You shouldn't trust again. Don't open your heart. You'll only get hurt. But I'm here to remind you, those whispers are lies. The truth is, you were brave to trust. You were generous to love. You were wise to believe in someone's better self. And that's not something to feel ashamed of. It's something to honor. You see, the danger of betrayal isn't just what it takes from you, it's what it tempts you to become. Cold. Guarded. Suspicious. The kind of person who never gives fully again. But you are too beautiful a soul to live half-closed. You have too much love to let one person's mistake turn you bitter. So what should you do? You let go, not to erase the past, but to reclaim your future. You forgive not for them, but for your own freedom. You forgive so that you can sleep at night. So that your chest doesn't tighten every time you remember their name. So that the story of your life is not defined by the chapter they wrote without your consent. And forgiveness does not mean re-entry. You can forgive someone completely and still never invite them back into your life. Forgiveness is internal. Boundaries are external, and both are necessary. Sometimes, the people we love most will fail us. Sometimes, those we trusted will choose themselves over us. But here's what they cannot do unless you let them. They cannot define your worth. They cannot take away your light. They cannot stop your life from blooming again. Because if you've made it this far through betrayal, disappointment, and heartbreak, then you already carry something stronger than betrayal: resilience. You are not broken. You are not naive. You are not weak. You are wise now. And wisdom means knowing when to stay, when to walk away, and when to bless the past for what it taught you, even if it hurt. So if someone has betrayed you, hear me clearly. You are still worthy of trust. You are still worthy of respect. You are still capable of deep, joyful, sacred love. But from this day forward, let it begin with yourself. Trust yourself to heal. Respect your right to peace. Love your own heart enough to never hand it to someone who hasn't earned it. The ones who betrayed you, let them go. The bitterness you've been holding, set it down. Your future, it's still yours to write. And may the rest of your life be free of betrayal. Not because you never open your heart, but because now you open it wisely. If you've made it this far, thank you. Not just for listening, but for staying open. Not just for hearing these truths, but for holding them, even if they were uncomfortable. Even if they touched a quiet ache inside you. Because what we spoke about today wasn't easy. It wasn't light. But it was necessary. You and I walk through 5 moments of quiet courage. Moments when you must stand firm, even if your heart is soft. Moments when your dignity matters more than someone else's comfort. Moments when your truth must rise above silence. Moments when saying no is not selfish but sacred. Moments when you choose to heal, instead of carrying pain that was never yours to begin with. Let's be honest, aging is not for the faint of heart. It asks us to say goodbye to illusions, to comfort, sometimes even to people we once trusted deeply. But in return, it offers us something far more precious. Clarity. Clarity about who we are, what we deserve, what we will no longer tolerate, not because we are bitter, but because we are finally awake. There is a quiet power in older age. Not loud, not dramatic, but steady, rooted, unshakable. You have earned the right to protect your peace, to speak your truth, to set boundaries, to live the rest of your life in the light of self-respect, not the shadows of regret. So today, let this be your gentle vow. I will no longer carry what doesn't belong to me. I will no longer stay silent when my dignity is at stake. I will no longer let others define my worth. I will live the rest of my life honoring who I am and protecting that sacred truth at all costs. If these words have touched your heart, if you've seen a part of your own story in any of them, I warmly invite you to do just 3 small things. First, subscribe to this channel so you don't miss future reflections like this one. Every week, we offer insights, healing messages, and soul-deep conversations just for you. Second, leave a comment below. What resonated most with you today? Which of the 5 messages spoke most clearly to your life? When you share, you give someone else the courage to do the same. And third, share this video with someone you love, someone who may be carrying silent pain and needs to know they are not alone. You deserve peace. You deserve respect. And you deserve to live the rest of your life standing tall, not because life was always fair, but because you finally chose to be fair to yourself. Thank you for spending this time with me. Until we meet again in the next video, may your days be calm, your spirit strong, and your path lined with people who truly see you. Wishing you peace, healing, and quiet strength. And may today be the day you choose yourself fully, and without apology.